Yeah. Well, hey everyone. Like Joyce said, my name's Ephrata. I'm 20, go to the University of Virginia, and I'm a third year studying environmental science. So today I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of background info into the path that I took throughout high school to get me to UVA, and sort of the path that I'm continuing to take to advance my professional career at UVA and beyond. So kind of like, starting from the beginning, I always knew I wanted to do something related to planetary sciences, whether that be like an astronomer and like studying the stars that surround a planet, or a geologist studying like meteorites that are millions or billions of years old, or even just being like an astrophysicist. These are things that I sort of glamorized, that I kind of like the things that you would pin to like your Pinterest board. That's like the stuff that I would do. I would pin like astronomers and like Leonardo da Vinci and all of that. And so I grew up also watching National Geographic. Have you guys heard of Doctor Who? Show of hands. I'm sure some of you guys have. Yeah, best show ever. A lot of NASA documentaries. And so this whole idea of just space travel and studying new planets and all of that, studying new planetary terrains, just finding out these new things had always fascinated me. It was always in the cards for me, studying these planets. But what I found is that, talking about being a geologist or a physicist or a planetary scientist is very different than actually being one. So, I knew this, and, my dad would always tell me that like talk is cheap. And so, I guess a good example is like everyone wants a 1600 on their SAT, but not everyone is going to work towards that. Not everyone is willing to work that hard to get that 1600. And so I wanted to be the person who wouldn't just talk about doing something. I wanted to actually do it. And so to prove it to myself, I, first enrolled into VESSS when I was a junior in high school. And, when I became a senior, I was like, okay, what's the next step? What else can I learn that's more so focused on the Earth? During this time, it was, I think, almost like 4 years ago. Wow. There was this problem with locusts in East Africa. And the locusts, I'm sure you guys have heard of them. They are very, very invasive. Once they reach an area, they can destroy a bunch of crops. And this happened in East Africa, sort of the area that my family's from. And so I wanted to, learn more about this. Someone said grasshopper invaders. Yeah, sure. So I wanted, more of like an earth science focus. I saw my Earth in peril. You can see Earth in peril right now. There's a lot of things going wrong. So I wanted to figure out, what can I do to learn more? What can I do to sort of try and solve the problem? And so senior year came, and, amid all the Common App essays and the extracurriculars and the IB classes and, prom, I, decided that I had to do VESS. It was sort of out of duty for me, and not just because of that, personal locust thing in East Africa, but just because of, the amount of people that I currently see suffering due to agricultural loss or water sanitation. Just the idea that we've only discovered like 5% of our ocean. I mean, we live here and we don't even know 1% of what's going on in our planet. It's absurd. And I want to know a little bit more. And so, I sacrificed a couple of hangouts. I sacrificed maybe 1 or 2 football games, and I did VESS. I did the online portion, and then eventually the in-person part where we presented in front of real NASA scientists and engineers. And what I found at VESS was this really interesting mix of interdisciplinary work. There were people who were interested in conservation and wildlife. There were people interested in like satellite research, people who wanted to get into geology and were interested in Mars and all of that. And, it just was kind of an experimental playground. You come in knowing, almost nothing, and then you leave knowing a little bit more, but you want to keep learning more. It gives you this hunger. It gives you this sort of thirst. And, VESS sort of fulfilled that thing that I wanted at VAST, that part that talked about like satellites and integrating space and low Earth orbit, but it also tied it back into sort of fulfilling that wanting to know more about Earth aspect of me. And so it was sort of like marrying those two things, space and Earth sciences in one. And that's what VESS gave me. And that's what, VESS is giving to you and what it will continue to give to you. And so again, like I mentioned about this hunger, like wanting to know more after VESS, all the scientists and engineers that we talked to, like Dr. Elaine Cecily, we were able to speak to her a couple of times. I just wanted to keep knowing more. And so I wrote my application to UVA talking about this hunger, talking about VESS, talking about like entropy. If any of you guys have taken a physics class, I'm sure you guys all have. I sort of tied that into my personal experiences and all of that. And I think talking about VESS kind of gave me an edge when I was applying to UVA. Because what VESS does is, and I think what a lot of people do is, they apply to a university and they say that they want to be declared in a certain major, but they don't always have that real world experience. Me and a lot of other, VESS alums, and I'm sure you guys have that edge. You guys have that real world experience that not a lot of other people can say they have. Even if it is for just a couple of months or a couple of weeks, you still are exposed to that knowledge. And so I definitely think that VESS kind of, helped me get in the door as it relates to getting into UVA. And, when I was in UVA, I was like, okay, now it's time to get some research experience. And as you know, VESS is a lot of work. You do a lot of research, you just continue to learn more. Earth science never changes. I mean, Earth science always changes. It, is never stagnant. And so I applied for an undergraduate research position studying NO2, nitrogen oxide exceedance rates in Los Angeles, California, and Atlanta, Georgia, using NASA's Trailblazers satellite. And so when I was applying to this position, one of the questions that I was asked was, do you have any experience doing research? And I'm just like, at this point, I think I was a second year, and most second years don't have that much research experience. So the only thing that I had to talk about was VESS. And so I, mentioned the work that I did at VESS. I was a calibration validation scientist. I did months of like the online portion, what you guys are doing now. And then eventually, I was able to do the real person event where I was engaged in public speaking and, learned to compromise and like do the whole budget thing. And so I was, working with, I guess, like exposed to NASA scientists and engineers. And I think the fact that VESS is tied to NASA also kind of gave me an edge, because then the person that was interviewing me, my mentor, was like, oh, she's already been exposed to this, to NASA scientists and to like NASA's decadal survey. So even if she doesn't know all that much about NO2 or about, chemical atmospheric composition, she is still exposed to research. So she's willing to put in that work to learn more. And I think, honestly, that's why I got in, because I had that, VESS thing for me. That led me to another position with the School of Architecture and Materials Engineering Department at UVA. And of course, the Environmental Science Department, the one that I'm in now, studying grass. We're trying to build sustainable housing materials out of grass. And so having that previous research experience of NO2 research, NASA's Trailblazers satellite, all of that, even though it might not be directly related to grass and construction and prototyping, I was still exposed to research. I was still exposed to hard work, knowing how to do technical reports, knowing how to present that technical information. These are things that you really, really get to hone on in VESS that you will never cover in like a regular classroom. And so again, I think, VESS led me to that undergraduate position. It led me to that grass undergraduate research assistant opportunity. And it's also led me to the NASA developed internship that I'm in now, or I guess that I'll be starting next week. And so, kind of just to sort of wrap everything up, college, I think, is a stepping stone, right? Each stepping stone is, bigger than the last. It helps you get to where you want to go, and it really, truly never stops. VESS for me was that first stepstone. It was that first stepping stone that led me to everything. It led me to my undergraduate position. It let me get into UVA. It let me get, certain scholarships and stuff like that. So, and now it led me to get NASA developed internship program. So it really is sort of this, continuing of knowledge. It just helps you grow and grow and grow. I think something else that you can say about VESS is not only like the technical and scientific aspect, but it's also I guess the public speaking and the soft skills that it helps you provide, or it helps strengthen, I should say. It teaches you self-discipline. It teaches you how to compromise with other students. If you guys are able to, be in person, hopefully knock on wood, and go to and present during the final panel presentation, you will have to defend your research and your what you research for the entire week. And that's something that's very difficult to do when you have real scientists staring down and you have these big white lights beaming down on you. It's intense, but you learn how to keep your composure. You learn not to look down and read off your paper. You learn to actually really absorb the material and present it in a way that interests investors, that interests NASA engineers, but also interests the common public, the general public, right? Not everyone is a scientist, not everyone's an engineer. So it teaches you how to portray certain information to different audience groups. And so in that way, it's just really, really holistic. I think, overall, VESS, of course, is difficult. It's something that not everyone in your school or your high school is doing, but that's what makes VESS special, because you guys are kind of like the chosen ones. You guys are the ones who are in this program, and you guys will be given an edge when applying to college, when applying to research opportunities in college, and then eventually, looking for jobs and looking for grad school and PhD programs. So that's, pretty much the little spiel on my experience with VESS and how it led me to get the research that I'm doing now and the develop internship. If you guys have any questions about, VESS or about UVA or sort of that whole process, feel free to leave something in the chat or just, unmute your mic. I know I talked for a while, I think. So.
Oh, that's okay. I think it's a great great information that you provided the students. And when you're applying to college, everybody has all the check marks. Done community service, they've done this, they have the grades, they have the scores. And again, in a program like this is something that does separate you out, because actually some of the research you were doing with the nitrous oxide, is that what you were studying?
Yeah.
Remember the lab y'all did with the ozone levels in the Shenandoah Valley and Richmond? It's a lot like comparing the data between the two cities, just like you were doing with Atlanta and LA. By the way, what was the outcome?
Oh, I'm still working on it.
Oh, you're still a part of it?
Yeah. Ozone is higher in LA, but
it's what?
Given. I said ozone exceedance is higher in LA.
Yeah.
But that's a given. So.
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions about tips for college or, paths or anything else? Y'all can type it in the chat or y'all can just unmute your microphone. Man, I got a bunch of quiet ones. Not like your group. So, Rito, you have anything to add?
I just want to say great job. I am so proud of you. Thank you so much for coming and talking to the students. I think hearing from somebody who has been through the program actually helps a lot. So thank you. And we're proud of you. You've done well. You've interned with us and looking forward to you interning again. You always are very helpful and always sharing your opportunities. That was great.
Trudeau. Okay, I think I see a question in the chat.
Okay.
What do you think about UVA related to your career path, especially? I really like how there's a lot of research is really emphasized at UVA, and because of that, there's a lot of research funds allocated to different ideas. There's this thing called the URMP, stands for Undergraduate Research Mentorship Program, and it allows for grad students to work with undergraduate students on any type of environmental related project that you could think of. So agriculture, NO2, water sanitization, like literally anything that you could possibly dream of. They give you the funding and they let you explore. UVA is really, really big on being student run. So we have like a student council, and Joyce, you can attest to this too. Like everything is sort of run by the students. So
Yes.
I just really like how they, emphasize research, and it's not just sort of like that classroom structure that they provide you. It's kind of like the real world research that they let you kind of play around with. And I guess related to my career path, well, I plan on doing grad school, maybe around like environmental engineering, maybe civil engineering, I'm not sure. But UVA does like allow you to, do grad school at UVA, like once you've done like your undergraduate at UVA. And I think you don't have to do the GRE, if that's what it's called. So yeah, I just love the research that they provide.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What did you think was the most difficult piece of your high school and college?
The most difficult piece of high school and college? I think it's definitely how to make the most out of what you're studying. Because I know like in high school, there's not a lot of leeway, right? You're given maybe a couple of choices for science. It's like what, physics, bio, and chemistry, and a couple of math options, Calc 1 or Calc 2. It's very difficult to make yourself be distinguished, if that makes sense. And so I found that same problem in college as well. Like, how do I make my experience here worthwhile? How do I make sure that what I'm doing here, like I leave an impact at UVA, I leave an impact in my department. And so in high school, there wasn't a lot of leeway. The only thing I had was VESS. VESS gave me that impact. I was able to tell a lot of, my high school friends about it, and, tried to encourage them to apply. And I think in college, again, it's just that research that would also help me. And then I think continues to help me have that impact that I, really, really want to have. So I think that would be my, the biggest challenge I have in college.
My biggest challenge is social.
Staying social?
Social.
Oh yeah, that too.
I don't make friends easily.
Sorry?
I don't make friends easily. I have one friend I made in middle school and like one friend I made in elementary school. I do not keep contact with them anymore.
Well, you're gonna have
friends
to.
now are the band students.
Yeah, you're gonna have to learn to interact though. That's gonna be part of any job that you're gonna be in. Tristan had his hand up.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just had one question. So you went to the summer academy, correct?
Yes.
So what would be your number one tip for the summer academy, or maybe like a big misconception we may come into it with that you want to clear up?
Ooh, I can't think of an exact misconception, but I think there isn't much. I think that you guys need to have an emphasis on teamwork, on like soft skills. I assume that all of you guys are like really, really smart for your age. That's why you got into this. But how do you make that physics and math skills and technical skills into something that other people can understand, and something that you can negotiate with? So being able to be like a team player, being able to, negotiate like budgets and costs and all of that, I think is something really important. Scientists have their way. They want what they want to be discovered. They don't care about the funding and all of that. But a problem that we see oftentimes is funding is a huge problem. We can't always get what we want. We can't always study what we want. And so I think something that you might not hear about a lot until you get into the actual summer academy is that everything that you want to research, you might not be able to. And that's okay, because, you got to work with what you have and you got to make the most of it. And that's what makes it more challenging. And of course, everything that's more challenging, the more fun, right? So I think that's the sort of the big misconception or thing that you might not hear about before getting in. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Well, what were some of your highlights at the Summer Academy? You probably talked about it. I'm sorry I joined a little late.
Oh, you're good. I really liked the panel presentation. I think one time, yeah, it was definitely VESS. Dr. Elaine asked me a question about calibration validation. And, you know, Dr. Elaine was really smart. She's really like high up there. And I was nervous. I was so scared, but I answered it and I don't think I stuttered. I watched the recording. I think I was okay. And at the end, she gave me this sort of like nod, like, and I think she was satisfied with my answer. So that was my highlight because I was really nervous when she gave me that question. I was terrified. But I think I did okay. Yeah.
No, you did a beautiful job of your presentation. And so Rebecca, Ruta, this is directed at you. Are you possibly Japanese?
I am sorry. I just got home. I can't put my camera on, but no, I am not. I'm actually from Zimbabwe. Hey, you come to Summer Academy, I'll be there. You get this really to see me. I'm sorry I can't put my camera on, but yeah. I'm actually the program manager for the programs. I just came from volunteering at the food bank, and so yes. So I look like a miss. I just want to make sure I'm on and hearing Frida's presentation. Oh yeah, a lot of people actually think I am yeah. It kind of sounds like Japanese. You're right. Right.
So y'all have any other questions or things? I mean, I don't know if y'all are juniors and seniors, but you know, the VESS experience, like Ephrata said that she was able to use that as part of her essay for college. And some other students that said, so some of y'all are juniors, some of you are seniors. Some people have told me they've used it for scholarships. Again, it's something that has separated them out. Other people can't write about this experience, that you know how to do research, that you've interpreted NASA data or data, and you've been able to successfully do things. The importance of learning how to do the research and writing the APA papers. Ephrata, you can tell them about the honor code at UVA.
It's very strict. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, if you do not write a paper correctly, they will expel you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I told their group about 10 years ago, some people in physics class, and I don't know, I think the physics teacher brought about 150 kids up on charges. And a long story short, 4 people had their diplomas taken back from UVA over a paper because it was not properly written and documented. So that's how serious the honor code is in most universities. So you learning how to do research and you learning how to write these papers. Your freshman year, did you have a paper to write your first week of school?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think it was for one of my humanities classes, for sure.
So, you know, you already have a leg up on half the class because you know how to write the paper and how to do the research. So most of the, and Ephrata also interned for us last summer or summer before.
Both.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, and some of these connections you learn when you're networking, like Dr. Seasley and Dr. Rutherford and all these other people that come to the academies. Those are people that that freely give you your email addresses, and they like it when you ask them a question. But again, the thing about it is they do expect you to act like an adult when you're emailing them. I mean, this is not like, hi, how's your day going? They're looking for you to ask them questions because they really do want to help you on your career paths, or they wouldn't take the time to volunteer with you. And Elaine and Gugu and a lot of these mentors put in a lot of hours. So does anybody else have any questions?
I think Anish does.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so it sounds like you've been involved with like research in college. Do you have any advice, I guess, in college of getting involved with undergraduate research?
I would say start early. Definitely start early. Reach out to professors. Sometimes you just got to send cold emails. That's how I got, the research that I'm doing now. I just sent cold emails. I saw on their webpage something that was really intriguing to me. And I said, hey, do you need an undergrad research assistant? And I, luckily she was like, yeah, and I interviewed and I got it. I think also, having a couple of softwares up your sleeve would be good. So maybe ArcGIS. If any of you guys are into coding, that might also be helpful, like Python, R. These are things that you could learn for free. I know there's a couple of certificates online that you could get. That would definitely give you guys a leg up. So
one thing I always say too is everybody nowadays gets high SAT scores. They get have a high GPA. This program will make you stand out because not too many students are doing this. So when you tell your professors, I designed a mission at NASA during the summer academy, that just puts you ahead of most students. So always use this program as far as when you do your resumes and stuff.
And the other advantage is I just submitted a letter of recommendation for Ephrata today for another internship this summer. Oh, by the way, the girl did respond that she received it and was to put it with your file.
great.
So I just got her email
Yeah.
right about an hour ago. So it's been received. Okay, does anybody else have any questions about anything? Okay.
Difficult at first, but just think of like the long term. I know like when I was doing VESS, a lot of my friends were like, oh, like, why are you doing this? Just come hang out with us, like all that type of thing. But, just like stay strong, kind of just like suck it up, because it really does pay off. It really is a huge stepping stone. And like Joyce and Rudo said, it does give you an edge. It really does distinguish you from the rest of the other applicants. And there's thousands of them, college gets more competitive every single year. So something like this is incredibly, I think, beneficial for you guys.
I think UVA and Tech get about 36,000 applications and they take 6,000.
Yeah. My year, it was 40,000 and they only took 3,000. So it's insane.
So,
hey, Rebecca, now you're in our circle. So your circle just getting bigger. See, you becoming family. One of the things Ephrata will tell you, a lot of the students that go through our programs, they might meet each other in college. They form like a club, friendships that last forever. So this is going to be like a little network for you with people from your age group that's done the same thing as you've done. So yeah, think about it.
Yeah, I actually just hung out with two of my friends from my VESS Academy. Do you guys remember Ved and Sue Yoke?
yeah.
Yeah, just like last week we hung out. So
I think it's pretty cool.
yeah.
I really do, but I appreciate your time and keep me posted on things. And kids, I don't, module 3 is due this week, and I don't know what your neighborhood's looking like. Our neighborhood's looking like we're going to get a lot of snow, so we might want to be prepared a little bit for it. And with the winds and the snow and the ice, power outages go along with that. So if you get into a jam, you need to let your master teachers know what's going on. I mean, we're not going to penalize you if you can't control the snow. Okay, that's not the way it works. Now in college, tell them about that. They don't care. You better, they don't accept late work in college, and it's not an excuse. So that's why you have to really learn how to do time management and work ahead, because you don't know what's going to happen at that last minute. And brownouts are famous in the dorms. I mean, I can, brownout is when the power dips a little bit in your middle of your paper and your computer cuts off. That's why you need to learn about autosave.
Yeah.
Is that true?
And use Google Docs for everything. I can't use Word anymore, so I'm too afraid of that.
But I mean, brownouts are common in the dorms. So, my daughter said her freshman year, I I don't know what I bought her, some kind of generator backup for a computer. So if it brown out, it didn't dip. She said you could hear the people just moan all the way down the dorm hall because they get things. So they're not, you really have to be on the mark in college. Any other advice for them? Anything else you can think about they might need?
I mean, I would say like start things early, you know, the moment you get an assignment. I know it's difficult, but just at least try to give it a glance, you know, give it a glance, think of a couple of research ideas or topics that you can think of a couple of sources that you could use for your paper. Just try to start early. That's what I would say. Do not procrastinate. Easier said than done, but
do you go to office hours?
Oh yeah, oh my goodness. My first semester, I think I was the only person there. For hours, I would be in all of my classes, office hours, all the time. I was in this 1 credit like computer class, and for some reason I just wasn't getting it. I was in every single office hour all the time. So yeah, I think college definitely humbles you. So, you know, if you think you are, and I'm sure you guys are all smart, you might be the best in your high school, but then when you're exposed to a bunch of international students or a bunch of kids from across the country all in one classroom, you're going to quickly see how competitive it is and where you stand. So it's humbling for sure.
Okay, well, that's great. Then I appreciate everything, Ephrata. Keep in touch. Thank you for coming. I'm hoping this is helping you on your next steps to college or your senior year to prepare you for a little bit.
Yeah.
I appreciate how hard you're working.
Thanks for having me. It was
okay.
Awesome, guys.
Good. Get your intern application in too.
Oh yeah, of course.
Don't procrastinate.
I know.
Rebecca, we're gonna get you talking. You said you're the quiet kid. Unfortunately, I'm the loud kid. So I'm hoping to meet you at the academy so we can meet halfway, okay?
Okay,
right.
Thanks a lot,
Good night,
kids.
guys.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Sorry, I come in late, Joyce. We were short-handed.
I figured that, no problem.
Yeah, and then I got home and said, okay, let me get something to eat so I can eat while we're talking. And then you call me right as I had spit in my mouth. That's how I'm going, Well,
I think it's great. Thanks a lot. I'm glad you came.
So, Miss Rebecca, you got something to say?
Just my unnoticed comment was the more serious part of it.
See, I see.
I can stand next to someone, they go turning around looking for me, and they'll look over me.
Well,
to my section leader in band once.
Oh, you know what? I think the summer academy will get you to open up, because then you are in a small group, people who are like you and working on the same goal and having to take a part and be accountable for whatever you're doing. I think you're going to really benefit from the summer academy, Rebecca.
Yeah, I think it might be better than some of my elementary school group.
Oh yeah, it will. It will. It is.
There's one I just I have no idea what the heck you're even doing anymore. I am just gonna sit back here and try to understand.
No, you will be with students that are like-minded like you, and they're ready to go to college, and they're not people, they're serious students. So you'll be with other kids that are a lot like you. And a lot of them are involved in band and sports and things. You're gonna find you have a lot of common ground with a lot of students. So it's a good experience. Even students like you, by the end, one of our interns that I hired last year, I didn't think the poor boy was gonna say his name hardly. And he totally changed. He's now speaking with people in Congress for us about the importance of this course. So he came out of his shell. He found out there was a lot of people out there like him, just maybe not in his high school.
Well, it's not so much as speaking out. I'll perform on stage all I want.
Well, then you have half of it accomplished. You just got to learn to talk when you're on that stage then.
I sing and perform.
Yes. Well, when you're speaking in front of somebody, you are performing.
I think the program makes you get out of your shell too, because like Ms. Curry is saying, we've had so many students who came in and say they don't usually talk, and they were surprised. So I really think the summer academy is going to be good for you. So continue doing your work so we can see you at the summer academy.
All right.
All right.
See you at the next meeting.
All
Okay,
right.
Rebecca. We'll see you next Monday.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay,
no more
you take
trees in
care.
the street.
Pardon me?
Hopefully no more trees in the street.
Yeah.
That's our main problem, trees in the street.
That's okay. You'll be fine. You're going to be good with all this. So we'll see you next Monday. Bye.
Bye, Joyce.
Okay, I'm gonna, I think I might invite, let's see if some of Space Coast kids want to attend.
Yeah, I was going to call you after this.
Okay, call me.
Yeah.